Hello everyone, this video is about the Gazelle class cruiser. This vessel was built by the Imperial German Navy. She was built from 1897 to 1904 and was in service from 1900 to 1954. There were 10 ships of this class, so stay tuned and enjoy the video. Chapter 1. Through the 1870s and early 1880s, Germany built two types of cruising vessels: small, fast, but lightly armored avisos suitable for service as fleet scouts, and larger, long-range screw corvettes capable of patrolling German colonial empire. Beginning in the mid-1880s, General Leo von Caprivi, the chief of the Imperial Admiralty, embarked on a construction program to modernize Germany's cruiser force. The first step in the program, the two Schwab-class unprotected cruisers, provided the basis for the larger Buzzard class. All of these vessels were comparably slow, capable of no more than 15.5 knots, which was not sufficient for scout operations with the main fleet. Chapter 2. Tirpitz's Vision and Design Development. In the early 1890s, naval officers began to consider a new type of cruiser that incorporated the speed of the avisos with the heavier armament and longer cruising radius of the unprotected cruisers. Then, Captain Alfred von Tirpitz, at the time the Chief of Staff of the Imperial Naval High Command, wrote a summary of the 1894 fleet maneuvers that included what he believed to be the necessary characteristics of a new small cruiser. These included a top speed of at least 18 knots, armament sufficient to permit them to engage enemy fleet scouts, and an armored deck to protect the ship's propulsion machinery. The General Department of the Imperial Naval Office issued a call for proposals on the 10th of May, 1895 for the next cruiser, provisionally titled G. The design for the first vessel, which could become Gazelle, was prepared in 1895 to 1896 by the Navy's chief designer, Alfred Dehich. The caliber of the main battery had to be limited to 10.5 centimeters, despite his preference for larger weapons, to keep displacement within reasonable limits. Maximum speed was to be 19.5 knots, a margin of 3 knots over contemporary battleship designs. Chapter 3. Design, Evolution, and Changes. By 1897, when the second member of the class would be proposed to the Reichstag to be included in the next year's budget, developments in other vessels prompted the first of these changes. The latest Kaiser Frederick III class battleships would have a speed of 18 knots, necessitating an increase in speed to maintain the 3-knot speed advantage. Still, Dehich stated that the requested improvements could not be incorporated while retaining a displacement of not more than 3,000 metric tons. More problematically, the cost of the new ship would increase by around 26%, which the Reichstag would not likely approve. As a result, the next vessel would essentially repeat Gazelle's design, through new machinery developed by the German Aviv shipyard, secured the necessary increase of speed to 21.5 knots. The design was somewhat smaller than contemporary light cruisers, but the ships were nevertheless sturdy and powerfully armed for the period. Chapter 4. Technical Specifications and Characteristics. The ships of the Gazelle class were 104.10 to 104.40 meters long at the waterline, and 105 meters long overall. The first 7 ships had a beam of 12.20 meters, and the last 3 were slightly wider at 12.40 meters. They were designed to displaced 2,643 to 2,706 metric tons at a normal loading. And at full load, their displacement rose to 2,963 to 3,180 tons. The ship's hulls were constructed with transverse and longhexagonal steel frames. The outer hull wall consisted of wooden planks covered with a layer of minced metal to prevent fouling. The minced metal extended up to a meter above the waterline. The hull was divided into 12 watertight compartments, and it had a double bottom that extended for 40% of the length of the keel. All 10 ships were severely crank and rolled. They were also wet in a head sea. After their modernizations, they tended to suffer from lee helm. Nevertheless, the ships turned tightly and were very maneuverable. In a hard turn, their speed fell by up to 65%. The Gazelle class required a crew of 14 officers and 243 enlisted men, though for the last 3 ships, the number of enlisted men rose to 256. They carried several smaller boats, including 1 picket boat, 1 pinnace, 2 cutters, 2 yawls, and 1 dinghy. Chapter 5. Propulsion and Armament Systems. Their propulsion system consisted of 2 triple expansion engines manufactured by the shipyards that built the ships. Gazelle's engines were rated to give 6,000 indicated horsepower for a top speed of 19.5 knots, while the rest of the ship's engines were rated at 8,000 indicated horsepower for 21.5 knots. The engines were powered by 8 coal-fired water tube boilers for various manufacturers, divided into 2 boiler rooms. The first 3 ships carried 500 tons of coal, which gave them a range of 3,570 nautical miles at 10 knots. I got a picture here for you to show you. I figured out how to use Google Earth and Google Maps to measure distance. So I will be putting distance pictures into the videos now. So, yay! I'm learning new things. The following 4 vessels carried slightly more at 560 tons, which allowed them to cruise to approximately the same range, 3,560 nautical miles at the higher speed of 12 knots. The last 3 ships carried 700 tons of coal, which subsequently increased their cruising radius to 4,400 nautical miles at 12 knots. The ships were armed with 10.5 centimeter SKL-40 guns in single mounts. 2 were placed side by side forward on the forecastle. 6 were located amidships, 3 on either side, and 2 were placed side by side aft. They were equipped with torpedo tubes. Gazelle had 3 45 centimeter tubes with 8 torpedoes. 1 was submerged in the bow, and 2 were mounted in deck launchers on the broadside. Chapter 6. Protection and Construction. The ships were protected by an armored deck that was 20 to 25 millimeters thick, with 50 millimeter thick sloping armor on the side. The armor consisted of 2 layers of steel with a single layer of Krupp steel. The conning tower had 80 millimeter thick sides, with a 20 millimeter thick roof and 50 millimeter thick shields protected the guns. This is the SMS Dresden. This is the SMS Gazelle's successor. So this ship comes after Gazelle, which is actually which is actually what Dresden is based off of. Gazelle essentially became the template for future German cruisers, like Kongsberg and this one too. 1910, 1908. This is pretty much what Gazelle inspired with their design. Hopefully I said that right. And contemporary to what World of Warships does. This version of the Dresden in World of Warships doesn't have torpedoes, but in real life it has two. It has two launchers. I think they're mounted in the sides or something, but they're not on here because it's World of Warships and stuff. We will get to the ship eventually. Whenever I get to the ship after Preston, which will be if I go to, where did it go? Gazelle. The ship that comes after the Gazelle is the Bremen class, the Königsberg class, and then the Dresden class. I'm sorry, it's the successor of the successor. I apologize, but we will get to this ship eventually, because it was built in 1906. For these ships, I am going up by their manufacturing date. Since Gazelle was built in 1997, I make a video about this ship first. Then we slowly go up in the time period, or at least that's what the plan is for now. And when we get to 1917, which is when Germany creates its very first tank, which is the A7V. We will make a video about that thing. Then we will start making videos about Germany's tanks, which is actually very exciting because I'm starting to get very tired of making videos about ships. But once we hit 1917, we will be able to make videos about tanks and armored vehicles. So, yay. Anyway, back to the video. Oh yeah, one quick thing. This is the armor layout of the Dresden. It's actually pretty similar to the Gazelles. This is the command tower right here. Here's the ship's guns. It has the same guns, by the way. 105 millimeters, which translates to 10.5 centimeters. You see that the citadel is 80 millimeters, the deck is 50 millimeters. It doesn't show it shows the firing range. This thing has AA guns. If I take this out, AA guns. Has little Maxim machine guns right here. And this is a pickup boat right here. See this little steam engine? If I go to the back, this is a pickup boat. This is a Penance, I think. No, it's not Penance. I don't know. Penance. The Gazelle had it had pickup boats. It had a yawl, and it had a dinghy. What I'm willing to guess, just by looking at this is the dinghy, because the dinghies are small. This is the yawl or something like that. What's this though? Pickup boat? No, this is the pickup boat. No, this is a launch. If I look at my pictures of what a launch looks like, which I have pictures. This is This is a yawl. This is a penance. This is a cutter. This is a picket boat. And a penance somewhere in here. No, this is a launch. The dinghy is somewhere in this mess of pictures and stuff. Anyway, if I were to look, this is the launch. This is the dinghy. These are the yawls, and this is the picket boat, and whatever this is. Anyway, I just wanted to show you that. Adios. SMS Gazelle was the lead ship of the 10-vessel Gazelle class of light cruisers that were built for the German Kaiserliche Marine. She was laid down in April 1897, launched on the 31st of March 1898, and commissioned on the 15th of June 1901. I think I have learned to slow down without saying the script like at 50,000 miles an hour. I'm slowly learning to slow down and speak clearly. SMS Niobe was the second of the 10 Gazelle class light cruisers that were built for the German Kaiserliche Marine. She was laid down in August 30th, 1898, and launched on July 18th, 1899, and commissioned on June 25th, 1900. SMS Nymph was the third member of the 10-ship Gazelle class of light cruisers. She was laid down in November 1898, launched on the 21st of November 1899, and commissioned on September 20th, 1900. Hey, that is the same day as my birthday. I was born on September 20th, 2004. So I'm 20 years old now. It's kind of interesting. It's on the same day as my birthday, which is actually coming up here soon. SMS Thetis was the fourth member of the 10-ship Gazelle class of light cruisers. She was laid down in September 1899, launched on July 3rd, 1900, and commissioned on September 14th, 1901. SMS Ardeni, I don't think that's how you pronounce it, was the fifth member of the class. She was laid down in December 14th, 1899, launched on the 10th of August, 1900, and commissioned on the 18th of May, 1901. SMS Amazon was the sixth member of the class. She was laid down in December 1899, launched on the 6th of October 1900, and commissioned on the 15th of November 1901. SMS Medusa was the seventh member of the class. She was laid down on January 22nd, 1900, launched on December 5th, 1900, and commissioned on July 26th, 1901. SMS Freyrenlob, meaning His Majesty's Freyrenlob, was the eighth member of the 10 Gazelle class of light cruisers. This is getting repetitive. Laid down in 1901, launched on the 22nd of March 1902, and commissioned in February 1903. SMS Arcona was the ninth member of the class. She was laid down in 1901, launched on April 22nd, 1902, and commissioned on the 12th of May, 1903. SMS Undine was the last member of the class. She was laid down on the 28th of September, 1901, launched on the 10th of December, 1902, and commissioned on the 15th of January 1904. I want your opinion on something. Is it better to say the 15th of January or just January 15th? I'm not really sure which one is the better word choice to say. Chapter 7, The Service History. Buckle up. This is gonna get wild and very interesting. I put a lot of effort into writing the service history. The Gazelle class cruisers served in various capacities after their commissioning. Most of them served with the Fleet Reconnaissance Force, though several served on foreign stations as well. Gazelle served abroad in 1902 to 1904. Thetis in 1902 to 1906. There's actually a postcard depicting Thetis. It reads, SMS Thetis, Inglar on June 16th, 1902. Greater gather, hostess reputation. I already know it from Thetis. I don't know the exact location of many mist rains. Next time I'm going to my highway. Our July ones on hanging on a station. The woman is pretty, but your uncle is very nice. The translation is most likely very wrong, so please take this with a huge grain of salt. So feel free to decipher the writing on this image to your own discretion. Niobe in 1906 and 1909, and Arcona in 1907 to 1910. Nymph was also used as a training ship for naval cadets in addition to her fleet scout role. Udine served as a gunnery training ship. However, during some annual fleet maneuvers and exercises with the 4th Torpedo Boat Flotilla, on the night of the 17th of November, she accidentally collided with the torpedo boat S-126 off bulk. The cruiser was steaming with her lights off, and when the torpedo boats approached to conduct a mock torpedo attack, Udine turned her searchlights on, which blinded the crew of the S-126. The torpedo boat inadvertently ran into the front of the Udine, and the latter rammed the former, slicing her in half. The torpedo boat S-127 collided with the still floating stern. Both halves of the ship sank quickly, and one officer and 32 enlisted men drowned in the accident. The 126's wreck was later raised, reassembled, and returned to service. When I learned this from a YouTube video, I was like, "What?" This happened when I was almost done with making this video. So, I guess it was just in time. I guess. Due to their age, the Gazelles had been placed in reserve by 1914, but after the outbreak of the World War I in August 1914, they were mobilized for active service. Most were initially used as coastal defense vessels in the Baltic, but Frinlaub and Ardeen remained in service with the fleet. They both saw action at the Battle of Heligoland Bright on the 28th of August, 1914. Here is what happened. On the morning of the 28th of August, Ardeen had been rotated out of the front patrol line and lay at anchor in the entrance of the Whistler River in support of the cruisers and torpedo boats on patrol. After receiving reports of the British attack on the morning of the 28th, Ardeen and several other cruisers got up steam and rushed to support the German patrols. She met Stettin in heavy fog around 1340. But less than 20 minutes thereafter, British battle cruisers chasing Cullen arrived and began firing on Ardeen as well. She turned to starboard and attempted to flee. The British guns hit her several times, and one hit the forward boiler room. The coal bunker caught fire, and 5 boilers were disabled. Her speed fell to 15 knots. The 2 battle cruisers closed in, one of which was HMS Lion, until they were firing their 12-inch and 13.5-inch guns at a range of 3,000 meters or 3,300 yards, which is pretty much point-blank range for guns of that caliber. Ardeen returned fire to as best as she could, but to no effect. With fires raging forward and aft, Ardeen had her forward magazine flooded, so the flames could not reach the propellant charges. At 14:15, the British ceased fire and allowed Ardeen to slip away. The surviving crew that was able to escape the ship assembled on the forecastle and prepared to abandon ship. The cruiser Danzig arrived shortly before 1500 and began to pick up survivors, with Kronberg and Stratland joining the rescue effort shortly thereafter. Stratland attempted to take the crippled vessel under tow, but at 1625, Ardeen capsized, morting the attempt to save the ship. She remained afloat for some time before she finally sank. The rescue effort was hampered by frequent explosions of ammunition stored on Ardeen's deck, which prevented boats from getting too close to the wrecked cruiser. Reports of casualties differ widely. According to the historian Gary Staff, a total of 9 officers, including her commander, and 50 enlisted men were rescued. But the historians Hans Heidband, Albert Rohlhor, and Heinz Otto Stanmitz state that some 250 of her crew were rescued, with only 64 of her crew being killed in the sinking. Those of you who are curious, the wreck was actually located in 1973. It lies at a depth of 40 meters, which is 130 feet to the north of the island of North Sea, at coordinates 5409 north, 7.7 east. I actually got a animation here. This is the location. Ardeen came to rest around 4 nautical miles from the location where she was reported to have sunk. The location is right here. This is where the ship sank. The SMS Ardeen. This is where it sank. And here is the island of Heligoland. As for the other island, I don't know where it is. What did it say? Coordinates. North Sea? Ah, it's right there. This is the island. Here's the coordinates of the wreck. And here's the island of Heligoland. And I believe this is the entrance to the Westler River that it was referring to. So the battle was in this area. Now Jutland happened right around here. Pretty interesting, isn't it? Here's the wreck of the SMS Aradine. It looks like it's sitting upside down. Yeah, the ship is sitting upside down on the seafloor, on its side. Frenlob and the cruiser Stanton, meanwhile, encountered the British cruiser HMS Arcesta and around 6 destroyers. They opened fire at 9:09. The ships quickly found the range. They hit the British ship an estimated 25 to 35 times, disabling all but one of her guns and inflicting severe damage. One shell detonated a cordite charge and set Arlista on fire. The ship's engine room flooded, and her speed fell to 10 knots. She turned away to starboard to escape from the punishing fire, but Friendlube kept up with the badly damaged British cruiser until she disappeared in the fog. In return, Friendlube was hit 10 times, but was not severely damaged. In all, 5 men were killed, and another 32 were wounded. After the engagement ended, Frimlob and the torpedo boat V3 took the badly damaged minesweeper T-33 under tow and returned her to Heligoland, proceeding to Wilhelmshaven. After that, she soldiered on in the fleet reconnaissance forces until the Battle of Jutland on the 31st of May, 1916. But Frimlob was not actively engaged in the battle until later on the evening of May 31st, at around 21:15. The 4th Scouting Group encountered the British 3rd Light Cruiser Squadron and briefly engaged them, but due to poor visibility, only Stetson and Mention fired for long, but to no effect. Later, during the chaotic night fighting, the battle cruisers Seyditz and Multilik, is that how you pronounce it? I don't know, passed too closely in front of Stanton, which forced all of the ships of the 4th Scouting Group to fall out of line, inadvertently bringing them into contact with a 2nd Light Cruiser Squadron. A ferocious firefight ensued at a range of only 730 meters, which is 2,400 feet. Frimlob opened fire on HMS Southampton and HMS Dublin, as did the rest of the 4th Scouting Group. In return, Southampton launched a torpedo that struck Frimlob at around 22:35, which cut her power and caused severe flooding. Okay, this is not at night where the battle took place. Because the battle took place at night, and then I can't make it night because this is World of Warships. But I'm using the SMS Dresden as a example, and over there is the Weymouth, which is actually in the same class as Emerald. Is that what it's called? Hold on. It's in this. It's in the same class. I go down here. Arista? No, I was wrong. I'm sorry. South. Actually, it was Southampton. I'm sorry. It was actually Southampton. It's in the town class of light cruisers. Alright, going closer. So we have an accurate demonstration. Both of these ships have torpedoes, but in World of Warships, they don't. We need to be in 0.8 kilometers. This ship is actually pretty speedy, actually. 0.5. 6. Good enough, I guess. Okay, stop. Alright. That is the same class of ships in Southampton. Southampton was a town class cruiser for the United Kingdom. And KMS and SMS, well, officially KMS Dresden was the ship that came after the Gazelle class. This is this is her predecessor. I go here again. Of course, this is Wikipedia, so next is the Bremen class, and then the Königsberg, and then Dresden. See? This is this ship that comes after, and it's actually inspired, if I look in the design. See? The program began with the Gazelle class. So this is essentially the same template. They were about this distance away when they engaged, and of course Southampton shot a torpedo at her, which I will show now. 3, 2, 1, launch. Torpedo away! Okay. I got, and of course the torpedo travels pretty quickly. And just a disclaimer, this is just a demonstration. Torpedo. This ship was built in the 1920s, okay? And the ship this is meant to represent it is in 1914, which is the Battle of Heligoland, where these two ships were the two ships, Lube and Southampton, had their what you might call it, duel, I guess. Okay, the demonstration over. And also, the battle was, their engagement was at night, hence the time frame of this demonstration. I wish I could create a more accurate demonstration, but 3D models of these early World War One ships that are less covered by history are not available or usable in any 3D modeling application. In order to make a 3D model, I would have to create it from scratch, which I don't have the resources nor the know-how to do so. So I'm just gonna resort to this as a demonstration. All right, 6-inch shellfire set the deck alight, and the stricken cruiser quickly capsized and sank with heavy loss of life. John Campbell reports that 12 officers and 308 men were killed in the sinking, while Hans Heidband, Albert Roller, and Hans Otto Stambitz state that 324 died when Fremlob sank. Both agreed that only 9 men from her crew survived after being picked up after the battle by a Dutch steamer and interned in the Netherlands for the rest of the war. In 2000, the wreck was actually located by Danish divers. The British marine archaeologist Ines McCarley, I'm sorry if I butchered your name, led a subsequent dive and confirmed that the wreck sits upright on the ocean floor and is mainly intact. Skeletal remains from the ship's crew are scattered around the sunken cruiser. The wreck was positively identified when McCarthy's team recovered the ship's bell in 2001, which they actually donated to the Lope Naval Memorial near Kiel, where the bell is currently on display right now if you want to see it. Please, a disclaimer: this video is not mine and belongs to its respective owners. This is for documentary creation purposes only. Look at that. This is the wreck of the SMS Frithjof, or Frinlof. There's the stern of the ship. The starboard propeller. Hopefully you can see it. I wonder. Hopefully they get a seafloor map of this wreck soon. the ship is sitting upright on the seafloor. Yeah, that's one of her guns right there. One of her 10.5 inch centimeter guns. Pretty interesting, huh? Seeing a ship who fought a major battle being so well preserved like this. There's the ship's bell. In the Baltic on November 7th, 1915, Udine was steaming north of Arkona with a pair of torpedo boats as escort for the ferry Preston as it moved from Trelleborg to Sassnitz. She was attacked by the British submarine E-19 under the command of Lieutenant Commander Francis Coney. E-19 launched a pair of torpedoes at Udine at a range of 1,000 meters or 3,300 feet, both of which hit. The second torpedo detonated her ammunition magazines and blew up the ship. Udine broke in half and sank quickly at 13:08. The bow section sank immediately, but the stern section remained afloat briefly, jutting out of the water at a steep angle. Casualties were relatively minor, but the number is unclear. According to Erich Goner, 14 men were killed, but Heinz Heidband, Albert Roder, and Heinz Otto Stenitz report that 25 men died. The majority of her crew were rescued by the torpedo boats V-154 and Preston. Most of the men who died were killed when the forward funnel and the mast collapsed and fell over, crushing the man in the water. The loss of the Udine came on the heels of the sinking of the armored cruiser Prince Adalbert two weeks earlier. These two losses were significant enough to compel the German Navy to curtail the movements in the fleet in the Baltic for the remainder of the year. Here's a few pictures of her wreck. The 7 surviving ships were withdrawn from frontline service in 1916 and disarmed, with the exception of Medusa, which retained 6 of her guns, and Thetis, which was rearmed with 9 10.5 centimeter U-boat guns for use as a gunnery training ship. The remaining 7 cruisers survived the war and went on to serve in the new Reichsmarine, except for Gazelle, which was broken up for scrap in 1920. The ships remained in service throughout the 1920s, but were withdrawn by the early 1930s. Niobe was sold to Yugoslavia in 1925 and renamed Dalmatia, while Nymph and Thetis were scrapped in the early 1930s. Arkona and Medusa and Amazon were used as barracks hulks for the rest of the 1930s. After the outbreak of World War II, Medusa and Arkona were converted into floating anti-aircraft batteries and defended German ports from 1940 till the end of the war, when their crews scuttled them on the 3rd of May, 1945. Amazon, meanwhile, remained in service as a barrack ship through the end of the war. Dalmatia was captured by the Italians after the invasion of Yugoslavia in April 1941 and renamed Casto, and pressed into service with the Italian Navy. She was then captured by the Germans after the Italian surrender in September 1943 and returned to her original name, Niobe. The ship ran aground in the Adriatic in December 1943 on the island of Simba at around 1800 as a result of a navigational error. The crew requested tugboats from Pora, but they were unable to pull the ship free. Local partisans informed the British about the ship's location, and 3 days later, the ship motor torpedo boats MTB 276 and MTB 298 attacked the ship and hit her with two torpedoes. The tug Presto, which had been moored alongside to assist with the salvage effort, was hit by a third torpedo and sunk. 13 men were killed in the attack. The Germans then abandoned the wreck, apart from a small group tasked with removing or destroying weapons and other equipment. The wreck was then damaged further by the Germans before they abandoned it, and it was thereafter cannibalized for parts by the partisans. The wreck remained on Simba until 1947, when salvage operations began. She was raised and broken up for scrap by 1952. Medusa and Arcona were broken up for scrap in the late 1920s as well, but Amazon lingered on as a barrack ship until 1954, when she was too sold for scrapping. That's the end of this video. The Gazelle cruisers had some excellent stories behind them, which made me pretty excited to do them. I took extra time to make this video. I have been taking more time to make these videos, so I hope you enjoyed them. Hit that like button and subscribe for more history videos like this one. Take care.